financial problems, elder law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by Thav Gross. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Good morning. Welcome to Law and Reality. In this segment of Law and Reality, we're going to continue something we started a couple segments ago. We were talking about divorce, and we had Jenny Lingle in with us, who we have back again talking about the tax issues. But I also want to talk about a couple other issues that tie into divorce with financial issues. And that big one is the mortgage debt and the house and how to deal with it. But before I get into it too further, I want to welcome Brian Small, Jenny Lingle, David Einstander. Good morning, group.
Morning,
Good
Ken.
morning.
Pleasure to be here this morning.
I like this little morning introduction, whether we go like in unison. Like we could go 1, 2, 3. Good morning, Ken.
I don't think so.
Wasn't that like a TV show?
Yeah, wasn't that
Yeah,
like
Mr.
in,
Rogers.
Yeah,
I was thinking
Something
more
that you
of,
were watching when you were
I was
Possibly
thinking about
Barney.
Vinnie Barbarino and
Welcome Back, Kotter?
Welcome Back, Carter. Yeah.
right. Well, you were the only one that was of appropriate age to have a good memory of that.
For Mr. Rogers or for Welcome Back, Carter?
For
Cotter.
Mr. Rogers and Bonanza.
Cotter.
Little Joe.
Carter was the
Absolutely.
president. Cotter was the teacher.
Good point. Good point. All right, now on the house issue. Here's how I want to frame the issue on the house, because this is one I constantly encounter this issue. All of us do in our practice, but I also encounter it socially, where people will ask me this question. And here's the end result, and then we're going to work backwards from there. But a couple's been divorced. There was one of the two, the husband or the wife. More often, I won't say more often than not, in this particular case, the husband retained the house and obligated himself to refinance. And now the wife is inquiring me in a question. He wasn't able to get financing. What are my rights? That's one phase where the situation comes up. The next phase where it comes up was he wasn't able to refinance. The house was underwater. He stopped making the mortgage payments. My credit's getting hammered when he stops making the mortgage payments. Now he's getting foreclosed, and I'm getting hammered further. And then the last way it comes up is he got foreclosed, and now the second mortgage company is suing me for $150,000 and suing him. What's the deal?
I want to emphasize one thing, Ken, that was constant in each one of those examples that you just went through, which we know are real-life examples and happen all the time, is the inquiry comes to you after the divorce. And that's something I think what we're going to focus on
that's why I
throughout
wanna
the show
I wanna work
is
backwards.
timing, because the divorce judgment is already done and entered. And we'll get into it over the next hour, but that was one thing that was basically constant in each one of those that is an important factor.
All right, so let me lay out the case scenario for Bill. And we started with Bill and Sarah, so we'll stay with them. They're getting divorced now. The house is the issue. Let's look at the house. Purchased in 2007 for $300,000. Mortgage amount, $270,000. Fair market value in 2011, down to $240,000 in the Great Recession, as we call it. Fair market value today has come back, but not all the way. It's at $265,000. Current mortgage balance is at $237,400. They've had this house now 8 years. It was a 5% mortgage on 30 years. It would bring their balance down to $237,400. The first question you kind of look at this and say, is there equity in this house? If current market value is $265,000, mortgage balance is $237,400, you might say, yeah, there's equity. But remember something. if you got to sell that house, you're going to have fix-ups usually to get the house ready for sale, which I estimated at $7,500. You're going to have a 6% commission to sell, which I put at $16,800. You're going to have transfer taxes, which are a seller obligation when you sell of a couple thousand. So you're going to have about $26,300 in selling costs. So realistically, there is no equity. Your net on this house is going to be around $238,700 if you get current market value, and that's what's owed on the mortgage.
And even if you wanted to debate the $7,500 in cost, it's either going to come out one way of you putting the money in now or a concession or reduction on the sale price. So it's going to get you to the same approximate number.
Right. So the whole thing is, Brian sees this all the time. It looks like there's equity, but there's no equity. But here are the considerations. Bill wants to keep the home. They're not divorced yet. They're negotiating this. He wants to minimize the disruptions to the kids. He likes the house. He has his man cave that's really important to him. He's put together this really nice study. He hangs out there all the time. He doesn't want to lose his cave. Sarah doesn't really care. Sarah's attitude is, as long as he takes the house, I have no liability on it. That's fine with me. Just make sure I'm not going to get, I'm not going to have a problem.
And the other overriding factor we see is the school district. They need to maintain at least one residence.
And they want to keep that stability for the children.
Correct.
Okay. Now, what's the risk issue? Now, let's go back to what we talked about a couple segments ago. The creditor rule. Do you remember the creditor rule?
I do remember the creditor rule, even though I wasn't here. But here's the simple answer: you can divorce each other, but you can't divorce the bank.
Correct. And when my creditor rule is
Luca Brazzi.
Is Luca Brazzi. If you owe me, you owe me, and unless I release you, I'm the bank. Unless I release you, I don't care what the divorce judge says. You still owe me. For some reason, people have a very difficult time understanding that. The divorce divorces you from your spouse.
But he's responsible under the
bank.
divorce judgment. Isn't that what it says?
We'll be back after the break.
It's devastating, the effects of debt and foreclosure on you and your family. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem. Some fear the word bankruptcy, but in reality, it's a strategy to save your home and to eliminate debt. If you're in financial trouble, timing is critical. You need to take action now. We've been saving homes and eliminating debt for over 33 years.
Call Fav Gross, 888-235-HELP.
I'm Ken Gross, host of Law and Reality, with an important message. Simasco Law and Thav Gross are hosting a free seminar, Preventing Senior Citizen Financial Abuse. Benny Napoleon, Kim Worthy's response team, elder law expert Pat Simasco, and I will speak, and Detroit watchdog Steve Hood will be our MC. It's about preserving and protecting your income. Join us Saturday morning, May 30th, 10:30 to 12:30 at Greater Grace Temple. For free tickets, call 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP, or register at cannotaffordtolose.com.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Fav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Fav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Simasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid and nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Simasco Law today.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Fav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem. All right, welcome back. All right, so we've got Bill and Sarah. They're getting divorced. They've got a house that really has no equity after it on a selling basis. Ostensibly now, it looks like there's about $30,000 of equity. Here's the common way the issue is often addressed in a divorce, and then I want to vet that issue. I want to talk about it. The divorce judgment gives the house to Bill. Bill agrees to pay the mortgage and to indemnify Sarah on the mortgage, which means if Bill doesn't pay and the mortgage company pursues Sarah on the debt under the creditor rule, then Bill owes Sarah to cover her for the amount she has to pay to the bank plus attorney fees and costs.
What if Bill's not collectible? What good does the
we'll get to that
indemnification clause do?
That's a big problem.
And is the indemnification can only for the monetary difference?
That's an issue too. But right now, what we're trying to do. Does anyone else want to chime in right here before we get the rest of the provisions out there? I'm more than happy to accept additional chimers. Brian usually likes to chime in. Do you want to chime in at all right now?
No, I'm just.
Can I go
I'm just
forward?
laughing at the exact set of facts. But
okay,
go ahead.
next, and then we're going to come right back to what you guys are asking. They're perfectly legitimate points. The divorce judgment says this is part of Bill's domestic support obligation, not a matter of property settlement. Those are the outlined provisions in the judgment. It doesn't specify the questions that you two just raised. It doesn't say, oh, what if Bill's broke?
But what it does say when you went with that last set of facts is that somebody knew just a little bit about bankruptcy law when they wrote the judgment of divorce.
All right, tell me what you mean by that.
Well, when they called the divorce judgment says this is part of Bill's domestic support obligation, not a matter of property settlement. If you look at the bankruptcy code, property settlement is dischargeable in Chapter 13 bankruptcy, but not Chapter 7.
Can you get that by looking at the code, or do you have to read it?
You do have to read it, yes. Okay. And then that's 523A15. 523A5 says domestic support obligations, which include alimony, child support, and certain other forms of support, are never dischargeable in any kind of bankruptcy. So what the divorce judgment ostensibly tries to do is put Bill in a situation where that if he ever decides to file a bankruptcy,
even at Chapter 13,
he's stuck for indemnifying his ex.
All right, so let me summarize that quickly. A property settlement and a domestic support obligation, either one is never dischargeable in a Chapter 7.
Correct.
In a Chapter 13, a property settlement is dischargeable, a domestic support obligation is not. And
that's
ultimately,
correct.
Brian, and we're going to get to it a little bit later, who decides whether it's a domestic support obligation or a property settlement? Is it the judgment of the divorce or who?
It's the bankruptcy judge.
Because
if it walks like a duck and looks like a duck, it's going to be a duck, and you can call it a goose all you want.
So that can be an issue that we can't decide when we look at the judgment because
Correct.
It's going to require the judge.
Ken, for the edification of our listeners, could you just explain briefly what it means to agree to indemnify?
It means that it's an obligation that says you will cover any costs incurred and damages sustained as a result, in this case, of if the mortgage lender pursues Sarah, Bill has to indemnify her, cover her for her damages and her costs. And then you raised the issue before is, would that include damage to Sarah's credit rating? That's also an issue depending on what the language is in the divorce judgment. If it's just to indemnify from claims of the mortgage lender, I would say that doesn't include...
Leaves the door open for the argument.
The door's open, but if it's broader, any damages arising from a claim from the mortgage lender, then it's a broader issue. Now let's look and say the plan goes haywire. Here's what happens. Bill goes to refi door A and door B. They get divorced. They're still amicable. Bill goes to refi. He gets it refinanced. All is good. Everybody's happy. He now owns the house free and clear. Sarah's off the hook. Life goes on. That sometimes happens. Let's go with scenario B, door number 2.
The usual
plan-
scenario.
The plan goes haywire. The market value of the home is too low to refinance. Bill has credit problems. He can't refinance. He falls behind on his payments. The lender reports Sarah and Bill delinquent. Keep in mind, whenever you're 30 days behind or more on a credit obligation, mortgage, credit card payment, etc., that's when it gets reported late to the credit bureaus. Not the day after it's due, but 30 days after, and they all report on time. Bill then says, screw this, and stops making the payments on the underwater house. He doesn't have the money anyway. Sarah's credit's getting hammered. She's not happy. Little bit of sound effects there. Bill is looking to file bankruptcy or short sell the home. Or worse yet, the house goes into foreclosure. Now the bank's suing Bill and Sarah for the deficiency. Bill wants to settle with the bank or file bankruptcy. That's the situation.
Sarah's mad as can be because her credit keeps getting dinged. She can't get the interest rate she wants on the car that she needs because she needs a car to get to work
And
now.
she's getting sued for $200,000.
Yep.
Between either on the second mortgage or the deficiency on
And
the
all
first.
the
In
judgment
this case, there
says,
wouldn't
and
be
all
a
the divorce
big
judgment
deficiency.
says is that he'll use best efforts to refi.
And it
and
uses some really
indemnify her.
nasty words at the same time.
What's the nasty word?
Bill will hold Sarah harmless thereon.
Yeah, indemnify and hold harmless. Why?
And-
You're giving that some special meaning?
I think that what it does
Beyond
is it,
indemnification?
I think that what it does is puts Bill in a really bad position when he's thinking about filing a bankruptcy. It takes away his opportunities to deal with the problem effectively. He can get rid of the bank. We can settle with the bank. We can file a bankruptcy on
But
the
he
bank.
can't get rid of Sarah. What if Sarah wanted to fight? I want to backtrack. If Sarah and Bill were still getting along, and Sarah said, "Hey, we're both getting sued on the second mortgage. Let's say there's one on this case for $200,000 and $50,000 on the deficiency on the first. Let's both file bankruptcy. Would that work?
That would work from the standpoint of eliminating Sarah's liability on the obligation and Bill's obligation.
The mortgage company gets nothing.
Quite often, when I'm advising divorce attorneys in the area, I am advising the couple to come in and see me to file a bankruptcy before
You're jumping ahead.
before they get their divorce.
I absolutely totally agree, but you were supposed to come up with that after the next break,
Okay.
towards the end of the show. This is why we have outlines, so
I
that we go
understand.
through a show and we do it in an organized fashion.
It would be no fun at that point.
I know that you'd avoid me from going crazy. We'll be back after the break.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Samasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid and nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Thav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Thav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
I'm Ken Gross, host of Law and Reality, with an important message. Samasco Law and Thav Gross are hosting a free seminar, Preventing Senior Citizen Financial Abuse. Benny Napoleon, Kim Worthy's response team, elder law expert Pat Samasco, and I will speak, and Detroit watchdog Steve Hood will be our MC. It's about preserving and protecting your income. Join us Saturday morning, May 30th, 10:30 to 12:30 at Greater Grace Temple. For free tickets, call 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP, or register at cannot-afford-to-lose.com.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Fav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. It's devastating. The effects of debt and foreclosure on you and your family. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem. Some fear the word bankruptcy, but in reality, it's a strategy to save your home and to eliminate debt. If you're in financial trouble, timing is critical. You need to take action now. We've been saving homes and eliminating debt for over 33 years.
Call Fav Gross, 888-235-HELP.
I'm Ken Gross, host of Law and Reality, with an important message. Simasco Law and Thav Gross are hosting a free seminar, Preventing Senior Citizen Financial Abuse. Benny Napoleon, Kim Worthy's response team, elder law expert Pat Simasco, and I will speak, and Detroit watchdog Steve Hood will be our MC. It's about preserving and protecting your income. Join us Saturday morning, May 30th, 10:30 to 12:30 at Greater Grace Temple. For free tickets, call 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP, or register at cannotafforddtolose.com. All right, welcome back. I want to do a couple announcements before we get back to Bill and Sarah and their divorce problem. We've got a seminar coming up on June 3rd, End Your Debt Burden. That's Wednesday, June 3rd, 7 to 8:30 at our offices in Bingham Farms, focusing on how to preserve future income for you and your family, how to eliminate debt, and we're also adding into the materials the divorce issue that we're talking about right now to identify and hone in on this issue because it's such a common problem and it's so often mishandled by divorce attorneys in town. We also have a seminar coming up on May 30th, Preventing Senior Citizen Financial Abuse. Steve Hood is our Master of Ceremonies. Featured speakers are Benny Napoleon, Kim Worthy, either herself or someone from her response team will be there. Pat Simasco is going to handle elder law issues. Brian Small and myself are going to handle debt and estate planning related issues as to elder people. It's going to be a great event. It is 10:30 in the morning to 12:30 on Saturday, May 30th at the Greater Grace Temple. In order to sign up for the seminars, you can do it two ways. You can go to our website, and if you go to the website, you'll see there's a spot right on the front page where you can click to sign up for either of the seminars, or you can call 888-235-HELP. The website is lawandreality.com. Free reports, we've got Retiree's Guide to Social Security from Pat Simasco at ssifreereport.com. We've got How to Save Your Home with Regulation X, The Hidden Secrets, written by yours truly. That's at regxhomesaver.com. Financial Crisis Analyzer is available for free on the Law and Reality website. I want to thank our sponsors, Thav Gross and Simasco Law. Now, let's get back to Bill and Sarah. The issue on indemnification and what goes haywire when the spouse doesn't make the mortgage payments is complicated. It's not a simple scenario. It's a mess because what happens is it takes all the leverage away. Let's say Bill's on the hook here. The way it was supposed to go down is Bill's supposed to take Sarah out, make sure she's covered. But Bill's short of cash. He owes the lender, let's say the lender's suing on the let's say there was a second mortgage for $200,000. The lender's suing on that. And Bill, let's suppose, is making decent money, but he's got alimony from the divorce that he's paying. He's still got child support for the kids. He doesn't have $200,000 cash. He could come, if he was going back to the lender saying, hey, I'm broke. This is what Brian and I and Jenny and we do with the lender. He doesn't have any money. He's broke. You want to sue him? Sue him. He'll just file bankruptcy. You want to settle? We'll give you $20,000, $30,000. That argument works well, except right now the bank is suing two people. They're suing Bill, and they're hearing from us, but they're suing Sarah.
And Sarah's a nurse working for a hospital system and is a W-2 employee.
And she doesn't want to file bankruptcy. And the bank counsel then knows, we'll just squeeze Sarah. And because we squeeze Sarah, Sarah squeezed Bill. Bill can't get out from the hook to Sarah under the bankruptcy because of what, Brian?
Well, the Bill can't get out of it because the bankruptcy doesn't discharge the obligation.
To Sarah.
To Sarah,
He
exactly.
can get out from under the bank. So in that case, all of a sudden the bank knows that they can squeeze Bill for a lot more money. And Sarah doesn't really. Sarah is one of two types of Sarahs. Sarah is the divorced woman who gets along with Bill, and they're still working together for the benefit of their children, which is a lot of divorced couples. And she is concerned, and she wants to help Bill, and maybe she'll bluff bankruptcy, but she doesn't want to file. Or we could have the Sarah who's the evil woman, from Bill's perspective only, obviously, who doesn't give a rat's you-know-what about Bill, and she says, I'm not paying a penny. He can pay the full $200,000, and I want to sue him for any damage to my credit rating. That's a big problem. Now, the question is, now that we're coming down to the end of the segment, is what's the way, how should we deal with this issue when getting divorced?
Well, there's I'll give you two answers. One, make sure that there's specific language in your judgment of divorce that doesn't indemnify. You can actually.
If I'm representing Sarah, I'm not going to agree to that.
Right. So then Bill needs to make a decision to walk away from the house at the time because his risk.
At the time,
he's getting divorced.
both
because
of them need to make that
because
decision.
the risk is greater to him on the
guy who indemnifies.
So,
Yes.
Brian, what you're saying is the strategy is either both spouses should say to the other, take the house.
That's right.
Take the house.
That's
And
where
and the judge isn't going to be able to say, okay, you know what? I'm making Bill responsible for the house and Sarah not. What the
Can't do
judge
that.
what the judge in divorce court is going to do is going to say, okay, I'm going to order the house sold, and you're both responsible for the debt.
All right, so
That's
back,
okay.
All right, both backtrack
It
because
is.
we're out of time. I want to summarize it. This is
gonna summarize?
one of your favorite words. What I think happens is this: you say, "Let's put the house on the market while the divorce is pending and sell it. If we can't sell it for what is owed on it, let's short sell it and get rid of it." You don't want to leave the house issue open after the divorce. It's a tough thing for people going through the stress of a divorce to swallow. On top of everything else, I got to lose my house and I got to find a new house.
And you also need to have language in there about cooperation, maybe an upset price or a floor price to trigger that short sale.
And if you can't get to that solution because both of them want to keep the house, then you have to open the door to more creative negotiations between Bill and Sarah to say, if we can't finance our way out of this house, and if the you-know-what hits the fan on the house, how are we going to deal with that obligation post-bankruptcy? The solution is you need to make sure the divorce attorney, like Laurel at our office, when we were involved in a divorce, work together to come up with the right solution.
Before the divorce.
Before the divorce. That about wraps it up for this segment of Law and Reality. The next segment of Law and Reality, we're going to talk about getting out of credit card debt thinking outside the box. We'll be back with the next segment.